About a year ago, I took part in the Useless Villain Game Jam. It was a small game jam with the theme of having a completely useless supervillain. And the one I came up with was a character named Sandstomper, and his job was to destroy all the sandcastles in the world. Unfortunately, I was unable to finish this game in time, and the game just kind of sat in limbo. Fast forward to Brackeys 2021.2, and me and my friend Double Pixel were in the planning process of creating a game for that jam, and the theme was Let There Be Chaos. And the first thing that came to mind was that old game I'd made, and I thought that would be a great game to remake. So we planned out everything we'd be doing for the next week, and we got to work, and we didn't finish the game. There have only been 2 games that I haven't finished in time for a game jam deadline, and both of those games were for the same game, Sandstomper. But it turned out pretty good considering. We had Double Pixel's art that is definitely better than my original art, and learning to do this game in Godot was challenging in a way that I didn't expect. The original version of this game was made in GameMaker Studio 1.4, which between GameMaker Studio 1.4 and GameMaker Studio 2 I have a lot of experience in. The problem is that I wanted to make a game that would be playable in the web browser, and the HTML5 export for GameMaker Studio 1.4 isn't the best. Every single Game Jam game I've made with GameMaker Studio, the plan was for it to be a HTML5 game, and every single time it has crashed or been unplayable. So I thought this time I'll make the game in Godot. I've recently been using Godot a lot. The reason why I wanted to use Godot is that Godot makes some basic things a lot easier. You don't need a hard code movement the way you do in GameMaker Studio. They have just the move and slide function, which is fantastic. And overall, my experience with Godot through this game jam was great. However, it did slow me down a lot because I didn't expect how steep of a learning curve it was going to be for me. One of the issues that I came into was each time the game plays, there's going to be a set number of sandcastles. That's going to be a random number in a range. The same for the swimmers, and they're all going to pop up in different positions. I was pretty proud of the code I came up with for this in GameMaker Studio 1.4, and I thought I'd do something similar in Godot. However, it proved to be pretty challenging because Godot doesn't have any functions in place to detect if a position is empty. GameMaker has plenty of functions like that because you have to program collision detection yourself. But because that is not needed in Godot, those functions seem to be absent, and that made spawning in enemies a bit of a problem because I didn't want those enemies spawning on top of each other or on top of any other objects already in the scene. Now, I haven't to this point figured a way fully to stop them from spawning on something else in the scene if it's inside the range that I give them to spawn in. That's something I plan to learn in the future. However, I was able to get some code for spawning them in so that each consecutive unit spawning wouldn't spawn in the previous position or any of the previous positions, and that was great. But generally, the whole pace of learning everything and redoing everything was a lot slower than I expected. The initial game in GameMaker Studio 1.4 that I showed at the beginning, that game was made in about 2 days, whereas this version of the game was made in about a week and we didn't finish it. But I learned a lot, and I am feeling a lot more confident in Godot, and the more that I use this engine, the more I feel confident that it may be the main engine I'm going to be using going forward. Hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching.